Greetings, and welcome back to Stellaris, my Commonwealth of Man playthrough. It is time for the 2350 State of the Commonwealth. Now, unfortunately, I have been a little stagnant the last 25 years, and waited too long to declare war on the Uthabulan Union to vassalize them. They are now considered equivalent to me, but not only that, the federation that they are a member of is strong enough that I cannot yank members out as vassals. I have to resort to claims, and claims are very expensive and bleed into my influence. And influence is the real gateway in this game. Influence is needed for so many things that it can slow down your progress drastically. So after I get this last sector claimed, we need to start doing some humiliation wars to fuel our influence, to get more done with our empire, to get some habitats built, and to start moving some of our mining off-world, as well as collecting more resources. We still are lacking a few technologies to be able to build refineries. I do not believe we have the rare crystal or synthetic crystal plants. But influence has been a serious bottleneck, which caused me to stagnate for the last few years. Plus, I was playing around with redesigning fleets. I decided I wanted to try something new, and the empire kind of stagnated through my decisions. Now, we are currently have decided to pick up a few allies. We have formed a defensive pact with the Tenderzun star conglomerate. I originally was reaching out to them just to get the borders open because they had won this territory during their war with the Glosswerhenians, and we did not have open borders, so I would have had no way to progress forward to them. But it ended up with them deciding they wanted a defensive pact with us. And we have a commercial agreement with them, and they are a mega corporation, so they have begun adding corporate holdings to some of our worlds. But we are starting to fall fairly far behind. We're down to 22 again, and it is mainly due to economic strength. Our technology is catching up. No longer is anybody like 5 or 4 times our technology level. Triple is as bad as it gets at this point with the Star Realms of Shar. They are the most advanced, I believe. Apart from, of course, the fallen empires, which have fallen quite a bit. But yeah, we are catching up in technology. We would be catching up faster if I had been more aggressive, because as an aggressive empire such as the Commonwealth of Man, debris fuels your research when you are playing up against more advanced enemies. So we need to get back to waging wars on a regular basis. After I get these territories claimed, ripped out, and turned into vassals, then I need to find another target to prey upon. Unfortunately, a second federation has formed. The Hierarchy of Moffith has formed another federation with the Kessim Confederacy, the Adnoran League, the Adnoram Imperium, the Veteresian League, the Citizens Confederation of Gavazul, the Star Realm of Shar, one of the top members of the galaxy, the Sovereignty of Tuxcali, the United Entherian State, and the Sovereign Jazajan Assembly. Now, they are currently embroiled in a secession war because the Veteresian League decided to rebel, and the rest of the Federation sided with them against the Hierarchy of Moffith, the founders of the Federation. So this ought to be pretty interesting to see how it turns out. I am currently a member of the Galactic Council. I am barely holding on to this membership right now, but I am gradually catching up to the Hierarchy of Moffith. Unfortunately, I was not able to prevent them from putting the Non-Interference Act into the Senate to vote upon. It's something I did not want to pass, But since I currently have no observation post, I really won't have too big of an issue in changing my policies so I'm not in breach of the resolution until I can get it removed. The only real issue is I'm going to take a minor hit with the human ascendancy movement for not having invasive xeno studies. But it's only a 5% faction approval, and they currently have in excess of 100. Let's see, we have 10 from having a human empress, 10 from not being in a federation, 5 from disenfranchising xenos, so there's 25 right there. And then if we look down at disdain of history, strong diplomacy, oppressive subjugation policy, there's another 25. So even if we lose the 5% from invasive xeno studies, we still have a 100% unless that becomes a negative, which I think it's just going to go to 0 if we switch our policy to subtle interference. Now, I did notice that there are some space amoeba that have made it into our vassal's territory. I am diverting Strike Force Dragon to deal with them before it resumes being in position to jump on the mandate of Massum 3. Matter of fact, I should probably move the science vessel there so that I can get the debris. I also noticed the enigmatic cache has popped out and is currently en route to survey one of our worlds, apparently, because they are in our territory. Now, being the only human player in this game, if I allow this event to play out, they will boost me. But as Commonwealth of Man, I really don't like an alien probe being in my territory. So this is something I would not approve of, and I'm not going to put up with them causing disruptions on my worlds. Oh, there are space amoeba over there as well. Well, let's divert Strike Force Pegasus to go deal with them. Or actually, that's a 7.5k fleet. Never mind. Strike Force Pegasus can remain where they are. And we will take Strike Force Scylla with the Griffin class. It's all autocannons. It's bad against armor. And they have a decent amount of armor, I think. 1,500. I think we can still tear through them because we fire fast enough. Now, they also are heavy on strike craft, though. So yeah, no, let us take Strike Force Pegasus to deal with them. I don't need that other fleet getting torn up. Now, we are currently one claim away from having claimed all 3 of these systems, after which time, by then, Strike Force Hippogriff should be fully reinforced. We will initiate the war if they have not attacked us or our allies in the time to get our defensive pact going, just to start getting these claims so that we can start getting more influence by building more ministries of truth. Now, we do need to bank about 200 or 300 to be able to spin all of these claimed territories off into vassals. So that is also going to stagnate what we spend influence on in the interim, unfortunately. We're 2 years away from getting another tradition, and we have finally qualified for engineered evolution. We finally got our gene tailoring tech that we needed. So our next ascension perk will be engineered evolution, and if we get it through tech before we complete the politics tree, we will go ahead to open up the biological ascension path. Tech-wise, within the next 2 years, we will be getting a slew of tech. We are working on gateway activation as a precursor to building gateways. Other than that, these 2 techs are just to get a little extra research and to get a quick tech out of the way. Now, I did spend a lot of time playing around redesigning ships as themed, and I want to see how well these themes work. Usually, themed designs are not efficient designs, because if you shoot for theme over efficiency, it's not going to be the best design, but they're still fun to play with. Now, as for our colonies, Unity is our capital, and I have decided when I do get the arcology project, I will be converting this to a ecumenopolis. I'm going to move my agriculture to other worlds. I'm currently hanging on to a few because as I was converting these over to industrial districts, I converted a few too many, and I had a shortage of humans to work the specialist jobs. Now, I could have made slaves able to work the specialist jobs since it seemed to want to grow more slaves, but I really want to control the population a little more. I need humans to be the most populous. I want there to be more humans than slaves in my empire. But we are pretty much at the extent of development here on Unity. We do have 4 temporary agriculture districts to shift over to industry. But there's no point in doing that until the current industry jobs have filled up. Unity is also where we have relocated the Memorex. And because it does have some bureaucrats on it, we are doing an artifact exhibition to boost our output to help us get traditions faster. Now, we have finally built an orbital ring in orbit of Unity. Currently, we just have planetary defense batteries on it that allowed us to slot proton launchers onto our orbital ring. These have very good range and make excellent defense of stations, because things have to get close enough for you to hit them usually to fire anything, apart from a few X or Titan class weapons. Unity is one of my research worlds. It produces quite a bit of research because the Empire Capital does a bonus to resources from any job, and we have given it 1 Ascension tier. We also have the Grand Embassy Complex on here, which when I get a building slot on my orbital ring, I will probably shift that to the orbital ring so that I could add another administrative complex or research complex to Flaxington. One of our first worlds that we colonized is designated as a mining world. It has gas plant engineers available because we found cave shroom spores, which we have been harvesting. Because of this feature, I probably will not convert this world to an ecumenopolis. I would rather keep the spore vents so that we have a steady supply of gas for strategic resources. This is also the home to the Nemas, these giant island-sized turtles that we actually have been developing on. We have enslaved them to work for us, and this is a research world. It produces quite a significant amount of research for our colonies. That is about a quarter of our research output. Yeah, we produce a little over 1,000K. This is close to 250. So this is almost a quarter of our research output. It's between 20% and 25%. Now, there is a little bit more room for development, but all that really could do is a minor amount of industry right now, so there really wasn't much point in me developing it, especially since I was trying to get more humans for other worlds where I overbuilt and had available jobs, such as Unity. So when I fill up these last few jobs here, I will be shifting humans over to Unity to fill up the industrial jobs that are waiting. Now, we currently have the chemist job shut down because we have a surplus of volatile motes. Those came from the ancient refinery we set up on this world because it was going to boost the exotic gases we got here. Dawnlight is our 3rd colony. We have been using it for agriculture, and it is designated as a factory world and one of our primary sources of consumer goods. There is room for more development here on Dawnlight. There is one feature, an active volcano. We never researched the tech to remove it, and so it is going to remain on there for quite some time until we get that tech. But it is one of our primary agricultural worlds, and we actually have Miravandia on this world we are using as farmers. We actually did a migration treaty and got some Miravandia from our vassal, and since I saw that they were agrarian, I decided they would make excellent farmers. Now, I'm not going to further develop the specialist jobs at this time. This is a place where humans can be shifted off this world. I don't really need to replace humans that are shifted off this world. Once you get to 50 population, then you have no further upgrades to your capital at this time. So I have no real need to let this city just grow. What I need is for Miravandia to replace the Vassal here, and humans to be shipped to other worlds that need them more. St. Natchbull was a primitive civilization that we conquered. It is the homeworld of the Farine. It was a tropical world. We have terraformed it to be continental. But despite that, Farine still have full habitability on their homeworld. Now, this is a agricultural world. It also has 3 rare resource mining facilities, 2 mode harvesting traps, and a crystal mine. So this is a world we will not convert to an ecumenopolis. We will merely use it as a farming world, so it will be one of our main sources of food, and the ancient refinery will be boosting the rare strategic resources we can harvest here. Other than that, it is designated as a factory world. Now, the Farine are our domestic servants, so even though they have bad habitability on most of our worlds, they're mainly clerks or entertainers or servants. So their habitability doesn't really matter for what they produce, which is amenities and trade goods. The only thing that is affected is the unity of an entertainer, which is a very small amount anyway. Leffingwell was the second primitive civilization we conquered, the homeworld to the Oxenlitters. We had been doing farming on this world, though this is a world that we would convert to an ecumenopolis because it doesn't have much in the way of resources and would make a better dedicated industrial world, mainly forge. But we also have several fortresses to support our naval capacity so that we can field a navy far bigger than our empire size would allow. Now, the Oxenlitter were recently modified by us. We got rid of their decadent trait that was causing them to have reduced happiness as a slave, so now they have a slightly better happiness. Now, we have been using them as battle thralls because they were very strong. I have recently acquired another species I think would make better battle thralls, so we will eventually genetically adapt them to be technicians and handle the grunt work of developing electricity for us. There's a lot of room for development here in the industrial sector as we need it, and we can eventually shift the agriculture on over as well. Doran is the third primitive civilization we conquered. It is the homeworld of the Vassal, who we have been using as chattel slaves because they were industrious. They were also weak. We have recently gotten rid of their weakness to make them more effective miners. Now, this world has generator districts. It also has 2 moat harvesting traps. Now, moat harvesting traps, we have a surplus currently of volatile moats, so I may not mind converting this world to an ecumenopolis either. I don't mind losing those moat harvesting traps or this little bit of generator just to make this a more effective world of something other kind. It currently has a lot of administrative complexes on it, so we are running an artifact exhibition. I could see converting this to a unification center. And as an ecumenopolis, you can get far more bureaucrats through the districts than I could with buildings. Proclos was the home world of the First League, or the capital of the First League. It was a relic world that we converted to an ecumenopolis. And we have an artifact exhibition going here because we have administrative arcologies on here with a handful of bureaucrats. This was a heavy research world. As a matter of fact, being a former relic world gives it a 10% bonus to research. Being an ecumenopolis is a 20% for every resource. So this makes an excellent research world. However, we have a shortage of human specialists working jobs. We have 4 available bureaucrat jobs and 2 available researcher jobs, not to mention all the culture worker jobs. And I've actually shut down both the chemist and the gas refiner because we didn't need those. I want them to be bureaucrats and researchers first. But unfortunately, there's not much call for slaves on here apart from the Farine. And that is what it's choosing to grow here instead of the humans we need. As a matter of fact, I had like 5 spare Farine down here. I've been trading to other worlds to get more humans over here. We also picked up 2 other species off the slave market. I have currently got them set as indentured servants. The Gleer, they are lithoids that produce exotic gases. They are natural sociologists. And so I wanted them here to work as archaeoengineers who produce more society research than most other researchers. But it keeps bumping them down to the bureaucrats, unfortunately. Even though they are not as effective at being bureaucrats, or, yeah, they're about the same at being bureaucrats as the humans are. And the other species we picked up are the Praku. They are also lithoids. They have scintillating skin, so they produce rare crystals. They are also natural sociologists, and they get a bonus to unity generation. Now, his happiness is currently 0 because he is decadent as well. Our plan is to turn the Praku into workers to handle things like artisan and refinery and metallurgist jobs. Now that's going to have to wait till we can do a significant amount of modification to them. So for now, I've only got the 1. We are not growing anymore. Most of my slave species have their population controls on, with the exception of the Farine and the Mirovandia. Now the Gleer, I plan on turning into our new battle thralls, but it's going to have to wait till I can give them very strong and get rid of the fact that they are weak. And then we can slowly grow up their numbers to replace the oxen litter and shift them over to being technicians. And as you see, we've hardly used any of the districts available. And we just do not have the population growth to fill up this world right now. And we do have the facility of archaeo studies here. Finn Castle was one of the worlds we terraformed from the non-continental worlds we had available. It has gas extraction wells on it, so we have set up an ancient refinery and the gas extraction. It has very few decent resources. Right now we're using it for generators. Because of the gas extraction wells, it is unlikely I would convert this world to an ecumenopolis, but I may eventually get rid of the generator districts to make it a full-on forge world and move all of those districts into forges or in industry. That is currently its main focus, is the industry and the generators. Earth 2 is another terraformed world, and it's so much like Earth that we decided to make it a second home. This world is a prime candidate for becoming an ecumenopolis. Sure, it has 9 mining districts. I can get just as much off of a mining habitat. So I don't mind losing that to make this a unification center. Right now we only have one administrative complex on here, but we are still running an artifact exhibition. But we are probably going to turn this into an ecumenopolis as an administrative center. Mendos is a factory world with a few agricultural districts we were using when we ran low on food output. We'll eventually get rid of them. This world has 2 moat harvesting traps, and again, I have a surplus of moats right now. So any world that produces moats does have the potential to get replaced, but I don't want to replace all of them as ecumenopolis. So I might hang on to this one and possibly turn this into a refinery world instead, with, of course, some factory districts, but I would probably get rid of the agriculture on this world. Hawksworth is going to be one of our generator worlds. It will remain a generator world because we intentionally tide locked this, so it gives a huge output to energy credits. And it is approaching the cap of its development. It was a fairly small world. We can fit 3 more generator districts on here and we're done. Until we can get around to doing a mastery of nature, but that requires influence. Bastion is another terraformed world. We are using it for more fortresses and as an agricultural world for lack of anything else to use it with, and we needed the food output. The Farine was a clerk but moved down here to provide us food while we don't have a full allotment of Miravandia. And I am not developing the advanced jobs right now. As I grow more humans, they show up as farmers. We ship them off world to another world and then ship like a Farine back here. As a matter of fact, Bastion is one of the worlds I've been trading Farine with Proclos from. Destinicon is another world that we terraformed. It has a strong magnetic field that gives a bonus to both energy credits and research, so we were setting up some research here. Because of the tide-locked worlds we have that are better at generating energy, and a 5% bonus to physics research isn't that grand, this is a world I would turn into an ecumenopolis just to boost the research. Thebes is another tidally locked world we terraformed. We are going to turn this into a generator world. It has a little bit more room for development. We've still got some culture worker jobs I can have the humans working. That gives us more unity and other bonuses. Our culture workers provide us with naval capacity, an edict fund, as well as citizen pop happiness. Now that only affects the happiness of humans. Humans are the only pops we have that are citizens. Destiny, another tidally locked world. This one has high gravity. It has plenty of generator districts that it can develop here. I have a hyper entertainment forum in the works that is going to pull up these 2 Farine to fill out the new entertainer jobs. And then we need to continue to ship Ichnerval here. Camelot, this is a world that I will convert to an ecumenopolis, and it will become a unification center, as well as possibly forge under the industry. It was another terraformed world, and it has very little use for the slave species. I need primarily humans here. Truett, this was a primitive civilization we were observing. Because it was a savanna world, I saw no reason to invade it. But they suffered a machine uprising and lost a war to the robots. Then the robots said that the sector belonged to them. So I moved in a fleet and some armies and told them no, took the system back, and destroyed the robots. The species that was on this world are the Rogerians, and they are industrious. Now, I don't think I'm actually going to develop the Rogerians as slaves to move to other parts of my empire. I think I'm just going to leave them here because they have 100% habitability. I might change them from industrious because they are industrious on a world with one mining district. It's got plenty of generator districts, and it also has crystalline caverns, so I wouldn't be converting this. I would probably make them either technicians or farmers. And considering this is yet another world that has a large amount of farming districts, most likely farming. Because between this and the other world I have with a large amount of farming, I probably wouldn't need any other worlds to have farming districts. It is in the process of being converted. In 11 months, it will become a continental world. And that will improve my habitability for my humans, which is currently absolutely abysmal. Melpomene was another primitive world I was observing. It had a species of insectoids on it. I believe it was an Arctic world. And they started suffering a plague, which I decided to just help along for science. Ended up wiping out every living thing on the world, so I was able to terraform it and then colonize it as a new continental world. It's going to be used for mining for now, but eventually I could convert this to an ecumenopolis and have it serve another purpose. And that is the extent of our worlds currently. We are terraforming this tomb world, Cornagi 4. As soon as its terraforming is done in 7 months, I already have a colony ship. It will be about a couple months behind the thing before I can send it out. So as soon as it is churned out, I can start the colonization process of Cornagi 4. Now we do have access to habitats, as well as orbital rings and hyper relays, but influence has been a serious struggle, so we're having to kind of pick and choose what we do, especially since I'm having to use claims to rip apart this federation. As far as our empire goes, we have 4 vassals currently. The first vassal we picked up was the United Miravandium Imperium. They were a primitive civilization that acquired space flight while we were not observing them, and then started taking over this area. And when they got to Poligar, I decided we were going to go to war with them because I wanted Poligar, and we pushed them back and ended up conquering them and turning them into a prospectorium for us. And they are a level 3 prospectorium now. We are subsidizing their research so that they stay a little bit on par with us, and it also gives a positive monthly loyalty change. And 50 wasn't a huge amount of research for us to subsidize. We do have a decent amount of resources coming out of here now. It's a lot better than it was earlier. They are providing quite a bit of consumer goods as well as minerals, and even a moderate amount of food. And they have started to provide strategic resources. We have on their capital of Vardavar 3 a Ministry of Truth, an off-world foundry giving us alloys, an Overlord garrison to boost their loyalty, and we have troops stationed there, and a satellite campus that gives us a little bit more research. Our second vassal was the United Latrepian Domains, which was one of the founding members of the Allied Independent Systems that we ripped out and turned into our bulwark. They are a level 3 bulwark. And they also are sucking down a lot of resources from us. We are having to subsidize their basic resources, so they require a lot of energy credits, food, and minerals. But we are starting to siphon research from them. As a matter of fact, that would probably be the next deal I would want to renegotiate, would be to double the amount of research they provide. They do have sufficient monthly loyalty for us to up this. We have a Vigil Command on there that gives us 7 extra defense platforms on our stations. We have a Ministry of Truth, we have an Overlord garrison, and we have a satellite campus all on Dantariga, their capital. Now, if we look at the terms negotiation, right now, if we maximize that, they will only drop about 2 loyalty. That would still leave them at +4, so there are further things we could probably see about getting from them to maximize what we get from them. We cannot ask for advanced resources from them, but we could start asking for strategic, and they would be able to provide us a significant amount of strategic resources. Even if we maxed out how much strategic they were giving us, which is a decent amount, they would only go down about 4 points, which would still leave them at +2. So eventually we are going to want to negotiate this deal where they're giving us even more. The Citadel Research Institute was the 3rd vassal we acquired, and this was actually one of our sectors we spun off to be a Scholarium for us. They are now a level 3 Scholarium, and they are providing us a modicum of research. Actually, they aren't even providing us as much research as we are supplementing the Miravandians with. So they are actually more of a drain on our economy than anything else. We would have been a lot better off actually developing this system on our own. However, the benefits we get from having them, the bonus to our researcher output for having a hyper relay network connected to them, and the deals we have with them that boost our station output and give us more choices when we gain tech, is what makes it worth it. We have an Overlord garrison, a Ministry of Truth, a Ministry of Science, that's another one that gives us a boost to research speed, and a satellite campus, which kind of supplements how much research we are getting from them. And they do still have enough positive loyalty. They could go down a point or 2. They're at 3.5. If we decided to up how much research they were giving us, we could up it another 50%, so that they would be giving us about as much as we are subsidizing. But if we tried to go all the way up, they would drop about 2 points. We could actually still handle that. They would still be positive. So we could eventually renegotiate them to give us even more science. However, it's not as critical, because even that is a drop in the bucket for when it comes to science. Now, neither the Miravandians nor the Citadel Research Institutes join our wars because they have very weak fleets, and I'm not really interested in them joining our conflicts. The last vassal we picked up was the Autocracy of Rakaron. We were attempting to rip out the hegemony of Ubaria, but due to some issue, they managed to retain 2 of their systems. It could be that I did not allow the star bases in the sector to fully regenerate and can be considered ours, or it could have just been the fact that I sought status quo instead of actually achieving victory, so it refused to give me all the systems. I'm unsure. That's something we would have to test in the future. They are just a vassal, and they are providing have the lowest loyalty at this time because we just renegotiated terms with them. They provide us with much more resources than our Prospectorium does. They provide us with a moderate amount of research and a very good amount of alloys and consumer goods. We have an Overlord garrison, a Ministry of Truth, a satellite campus, and another Overlord garrison. The first 3 buildings are on Ro Doman, their capital. Navalis also has an Overlord garrison. Now, if we want to extend this further, I could get rid of the satellite campus and add another garrison to another one of their worlds to boost their loyalty further. But that is the extent of the state of the Commonwealth. So thank you all for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time.